Hey everybody, I'm back and I'm going to, this is about 2 pounds of clay right here, and I'm going to demonstrate how to center this amount of clay, and then I'm going to make a fairly large goblet with it. I'm trying to figure out exactly how much clay it's going to take to get a whole can of beer in one of my goblets, because they're so neat to put them in the freezer and then and of course have your beer cold too, but sometimes the entire can, especially those 16-ounce ones, they won't fit in there. So we're going to do this. So a lot of people slam their clay down to stick it to the bat. I don't do that usually because it'll flip you right off of the splash pan here. So, but when you first put your clay on the bat, stick it down, and don't put it on a bat that's real wet, because then it will just slide off. You want your clay to be sticky. You want your bat to be fairly dry. It can be damp, but you need to wipe most of the water off. I know a lot of people that you see on the internet will put water on their bat and then put their clay down on it. Sometimes they're using a particular kind of clay. I don't know what it is, but for some reason theirs doesn't seem to come off the bat. But for most Western clay, and it'll make it slide right off the bat. European clay is a finer molecule. The little particles of the clay are finer, and it's just a different clay body. So if you're in the United States, make sure you get your clay stuck to the bat, like so. Then turn your wheel on. Now remember that the faster the wheel is going, the easier it's going to be to center. It is very hard to center something that's going slow. So put a little bit of water on it, and right now we're still sticking it down. So I'm not concerned so much whether it's in the center. I just want to push it down and seal it onto the bat, making sure that I've got a good secure stick there. Okay, keep your hands wet so that it'll be nice and slick, and then put one elbow into your side and just push on it like so, but you're pushing this way with this hand, keeping your hands wet. So you're sort of pushing your hands together like you know, you're just squeezing it together. So cone it up. So what I'm doing is I'm starting to squeeze it right about in here. I don't want to create a hole up here, but I can, if I do get a little crater up there, I can just push it down. Now what this hand is doing is pretty important, because with these fingers I'm preventing any kind of an air pocket to be created right here. So I'm keeping it in check on the side as I'm pushing that down, and with the heel of this hand I can just fold it right in. Now it's almost centered. We're going to cone it up again, starting from the bottom. Keep even pressure, and you ought to have something that looks like that with 2 pounds of clay. Get it wet. You can cone it up further if you want to. Coning your clay simply, it's kind of like wedging it some more, and it really gets your clay conditioned to be thrown. You get all those little clay particles going in the same direction, and it makes it a whole lot easier. Let's do it one more time. Squeezing up. And I'm wiping all the slip off my hands and getting it where it'll do the most good. At this point, I'm going to try not to be adding a whole lot more water because I don't want to make a mess. And it's not necessary if you have enough slip on your hands. So get it all nice and coned up. And then make sure you've got the slip in your palm of your hands there. Keep your hands nice and wet. Now with this hand, I'm going to make sure that I'm checking where this thing is going, and then I'm going to push it off to the side a little bit and down. So I'm pushing it to the side and down. And then I'm leaning in, and with my left hand, I'm going to try to control where that's going. Now I've gotten it off center. Talking too much. If you get it off center. Now remember, it's the heel of this hand and this elbow jabbed into your side, or for me, it's right there in the crook of my leg, where my leg meets my torso. Now, if you get your clay off center, just instead of trying to push it back one way or the other, just grab your clay with both hands and pull it towards you a little bit. That'll help a lot. And then you can put this hand back in place and get it nice and centered. And I've got a bouncing bat. Okay, so that's how you center a couple of pounds. Whoop, there it went. So I'm going to go ahead with the goblet. The first thing you do when you're making a goblet is gather the bottom, because this is going to be one of those one-piece jobbies. And I'm going to cone it up because I want, well, hang on a second. I want to make one of those little discs, and in my case I'm going to make two because I usually mess one up. And this will be the little disc that's going to go in the center. So I'm just going to it's almost like making a little tiny bowl. So now I'm going to slow the wheel down to cut that off and get my little knife here. And it should just, see what I mean? I almost always mess one up before. And that'll never do. So let's set that aside. I don't know if I can save that. Probably not. This could be my emergency one in case I mess the other one up. There, maybe that works better. If I just squeeze it off of there like that. And then cut that little guy off of there. And then I've got my little disc, another one. Okay, so you've got somewhere around, oh, I don't know, maybe 1.5 pounds left. No, you should have about 1 3/4 left probably. So get your clay centered again. So I'm going to open it down to the bat. And I'm squeezing it down there to get this clay, well, to get the center out to maybe within 1 inch of the outside edge. So you want to keep everything colored in pretty much until you get to the top where you're going to make the bowl of the goblet. I don't want to feel an air bubble in there. All right, now I need to mop out the bottom. There it is. Because if you have too much water around the bottom of your pot, it's very likely that you'll scoot it off center if you push too hard on one direction or another. So it's always good to, you need the water in there to pull it, to pull the walls, but you do need to keep it from just sitting there in it. And I'm leaving excess clay up here around the top because that's going to get stretched out. So now I need to shape it. So I'm going to collar in this part right in here. And I'm going to continue to keep this pretty collared in too until I'm ready, because if you leave this large up here and you try to collar this in, it'll start twisting on you and you won't be very happy. So I need to make sure that inside is nice and smooth. Okay. All right, so we've got this pretty well. Now the inside where the, let me get the camera over there so you can see down in there. Can you see that? Let's see if we can see that. Okay, see the hole there? We're going to put this little disc that's over here in that hole and then smooth it out. So let me set you back down, and I'm just going to drop this down in there, and hopefully it'll be fairly even. And here's what that looks like. It's right now it's just dropped in that spot. Now I'm going to smooth out the little edges as well as I can, and by the time I get the cup made, you won't even be able to tell that that's in there from this angle anyway, from this side. So let's see, let's do that. And let's turn that up just a bit. Okay. All right, so let's get moving again here. Now, as you start to shape the top of this, you're going to want to slow your wheel down to where it's comfortable for you and you can manage however much clay you have on there. Whoops. As you can see, that is getting more and more sort of married to the edge or to the wall of the inside. So I'm going to start shaping. I'll be able to do more with it when I get it opened up to shape the bowl. So let's put a little water on here. So I'm going to start shaping the top. Okay. All right, let's see here. Well, he ought to be happy with this one. I think this might hold a liter or a half a liter. There, you can see where that's mushed right up into the wall there, so it doesn't even, you can't even tell that there's been something added there. Okay, now I'm going to refine the very bottom here and make that a little more special. Let me compress my rim before I forget to. There we go. I could probably get a little more height out of that, but I think it's the capacity that I need it to be. I'll measure it before I take, well, 2 pounds starting with. Okay, bottom. So I have this little credit card. Actually, it's one of those gift card things, and I've sort of notched out some places on it, and they're very handy to be used for stuff like this. So I can't get up under there much more with something this shape. So let's try one of these small, there it is. Try my little guy here. Now see, we've still got air in the bottom of this, so it's behaving very nicely. Now, if you have trouble getting your little disc on the inside from sort of melding up to the wall, take a very small rib like this, and you can just put it on the inside up against there and mash it in a little bit. The key to this is to go slowly. Get rid of the slurry that's on the inside. Okay, so I'm going to run my thumb around the bottom there. Now I let mine dry on the bat because they stay round. Sometimes if I try to take something tall like this off the bat by wiring it off, I mess it up. So I'll probably leave this on here until it just pops off on its own. So there is a very nice, very large I would be very surprised if this wouldn't hold one of those 16-ounce cans of beer or pop or anything that you wanted to drink from it.